Pregame.com.
I'm Vegas Runner here with Bryan Leonard breaking down Minnesota, San Diego, Chargers minus 8.5, total 41.5. This is my best bet of the weekend. I like the side and the total. To be honest with you, I like the under a lot, but the side jumped out at me just too much, and I really like that San Diego side. It may be the square side, it may be the public side, but the more I break down this game, I can't see how Minnesota is going to go into San Diego and keep the game close. My reasoning is this. Minnesota is just too banged up in the secondary to contain Phillip Rivers. I think he's going to throw for, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws for 400 yards on this defense. More importantly, we're looking at Minnesota with a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach. You know, offense is way behind defense here. I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to keep up with them on the scoreboard. And I really think that San Diego's not going to have too many problems scoring against this Minnesota team. Look, you saw last year they couldn't stop anybody. I don't see how they're going to do it this year. It was tough looking at offensive statistics for Minnesota because of the fact, new quarterback, whole new scheme. And you know they're going to have to play McNabb a little different than they did Tavares Jackson. I expect a lot of play action. They're trying to get the ball downfield. But against this San Diego team, I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, if McNabb has to throw the ball downfield, I don't want any part of him. Because if you watch him in the last few years, all he is the dink and dunk stuff. So
exactly.
I don't think they can throw downfield. My only counter-argument could have been, who's the coach of the San Diego Chargers?
Norv Turner, of course.
But I had the same problem with the Miami Dolphins coach and the Pitt coach in college, Wannstedt. All I care about is how he does against the spread. That's all I care about. I'm not the football fan that cares who's going to win or who's going to lose. I'm from Cleveland. The Browns win the Super Bowl is great. If they don't, I don't care if I can't make any money on it.
Right.
I went back and I looked at Turner since he's been to San Diego. Since he's been to San Diego, the Chargers are 35, 27, and 2 against the spread. Now, a lot has been said about Turner in the first few games of the season. They always go off to that slow start. He's 6-9-1 against the spread the last 4 years, his entire time at San Diego. 6-9, what's that? That's a coin flip.
Yeah, especially knowing that this is a team that gets money, so you're looking at some inflated numbers there.
Yep, and you may have some advantage in that because everybody keeps thinking San Diego gets off to this terrible start. So the line may have been higher. In fact, it opened 10 at one point. And another thing, Turner at home, you talked about the quarterback situation, 19-11-1 at home. And unlike some of these teams in the NFL, they'll run up a score if they have a chance. So
exactly.
You know, I don't have anything on the side or the total in this game, but I think the real way to play this game is a teaser, 6-point teaser, because you're looking at 8.5. So basically, you're playing that under a field goal because they could easily
get
win
under
this game
those,
by 7.
get through 7, get through 3.
And you're looking at key numbers, right? You get 3, 4, 6, and 7 when you use it as a teaser. So how many games has San Diego lost at home straight up? You know, the only thing that's going to hurt you, the 6-point teaser right now, is if they win by 1 or 2. 2's a dead
How
number.
would you tease the total?
I wouldn't tease the total.
Just use the side.
I have no
You're
opinion
saying
at all.
just use the side and the total and couple it with something else.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on the total, to be honest with you.
That's the only thing that scares me. I like the under, but it scares me that I think they could really do damage against this secondary of Minnesota. I think San Diego is the most underrated team in football. People may disagree with me, but here's a team that was number 1 in offense, number 1 in defense last year. Didn't make the playoffs because they started out of the gate 2-6. But when you look at it, it was the turnover ratio. They were -6 in turnovers. But here's the kicker. It was -9 was the fumbles. You know, like we said, fumbles are a 50-50 proposition. Right. Once they hit the ground, it's a coin toss. This team was -9 on those coin tosses. I think we're looking at a perfect situation of a regression on fumbles. And I really think that luck factor is going to help this team out as far as ATS goes. Personally, a healthy Vincent Jackson, a healthy Antonio Gates. This team's deadly on offense. But defensively, they were number one too.
Yeah.
They're as loaded as it comes. Their weakness was that turnovers and special teams last year. And they went out there and they addressed their special teams issues. And like I said, when it comes to factors like fumbles, I think luck has a tendency of evening out over time.
Well, the special teams issue may not be such an advantage because of the new kickoff rule.
Right.
So they got burned so much in that last year, so going out and addressing that may not really benefit
That's
them.
the best thing for them.
Well, I don't think so, because the advantage they got from getting all these guys.
Right, you picked
it's
all
gonna
these
be
guys, you're not
lessened.
going to be able to use them.
Yeah, it's going to be
Right,
lessened
right,
because they've
right,
been kicking
right,
it into the end zone. But, you talk about it being number one and number one last year. Well, the year before, they were number 10 in offense, number 16 in defense, and last year they lost 4 more games being number one and number one. So a lot of times these stats, you can read them any way you want.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. Like the previous 4 years, they won the AFC West. They were number one in turnovers. You know what I mean? So I agree with you totally. Honestly, I think Minnesota, it's going to take some time for this team because of the just so many new pieces with the head coach, with the coordinators, with the quarterback now. Sidney Rice is gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you become one-dimensional, it's so easy to game plan for. San Diego knows what Minnesota's going to try to do. Kill the clock, keep the offense off the field, stay in the game, giving it to Adrian Peterson. If I have to prepare for that, I think even Norv Turner isn't going to have too much problems, coming up with a scheme or game plan against Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's not going to throw the ball down the field, and they got a terrible point spread record, 9-18-2 against the spread as a non-divisional dog the last 6 years. The only concern, I think, with San Diego is they have New England on deck.
Right. That's what I worried about too.
I do have to disagree with you. You said that San Diego is the most underrated team. I think other than the Philadelphia Eagles, they're the most overrated team.
Really?
And maybe it's because of the circles that I'm in. And we went to the sports seminar last week. Everybody on the panel, I'm taking San Diego over as my best over-under
Right. Well, I think that has to do, though, with how weak the AFC West is, too.
It's true. It is. But a lot of the guys were playing them for the Super Bowl, and I know...
I gave them out.
I can't argue
I'm
with
not
you
going to lie.
that.
I thought there was a ton of value on this team. They burned me in the past with that projection. I know they've burned me in the past. Everyone tells me Norv Turner is not who you want, when the playoffs get here. But like I said, and I'm not comparing him to John Wooden, but I keep saying this, until he finally broke through and won one, he was a winless, he couldn't win it either. Yeah. And then he went off to win 13 or whatever he did. So I'm not saying we're looking at the next Norv Turner, the next John Wooden, right. But I just think he has so much talent on this team. And I think they're a motivated team after last year. And I think that's where they become dangerous. And they're the kind of team, like you said, they have no problem blowing out opponents when they can do it. And here's a Minnesota team who's got all this new personnel out there. Now they're a dome team that's coming into San Diego. I just think the deck is stacked so high against them that I could see, and like I said, it could be the squares pick on the board. But I really think that San Diego minus 8.5 is easy money.
It could very well happen, but you're talking about motivation. Minnesota won 22 games the previous 2 seasons.
Of course,
and they're coming off a terrible year last year.
Of course.
They may not have the personnel that they brought in that is good enough to turn it all around and get back to where they were before. But you're still looking at a lot of guys who are very good players, and you always have the backdoor cover, especially with New England on deck for San Diego.
I agree.
Which, when you're laying 8.5, I feel much better laying 2.5 in
Of
a game.
Of course. Now, I agree. I think
that
on a teaser, I think it's an automatic.
Okay.
And I hate using that word, and I don't use the L word.
Let's
people are afraid of.
And maybe the safer way to play.
Yeah, and it's a great value bet, getting the Chargers under that key number of 3
right.
at home in their first game of the season with a healthy squad. I agree with you. But I'm going to step out, baby. I'm going to step out. I won my best bet last week, so I'm going to try to keep that little hot streak going and go with San Diego minus the 8.5. Brian says tease them, tie him in with another team in the NFL. Looks like easy money, but we won't use the L term and just say values on the Chargers.